You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by. On the morning shift.
Anything
could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh, and I'm trying to figure out what's happening here on CKLU. Hopefully we are on, and hopefully my wife will let me know if we are. No sound on the radio. Yeah, that's what I kind of figured. Everything is working as far as I knew, so we're going to troubleshoot while we're on here this morning. And it is what it is. It keeps bouncing me off of the remote. The remote for some reason. It tells us everything we got here going is live, so everything should be working. We got volume, we got everything, but as per just to keep the tradition alive, there's always something that's going to happen, just like the beginning says. I'm really glad I made that intro because it became prophetic, actually. So I know that all you all are on this morning, watching on YouTube Live, Facebook Live at facebook.com/Sudbury News and youtube.com/Sudbury News. So you will still be able to comment and be part of the show there, but for some reason we're going to troubleshoot us being on CKLU at this time. So just bear with us as we'll multitask here this morning. So yeah, good morning. Yeah, it's live. Mention the date. Yeah, it is September 15th, 2022. So thanks for being with us. It is Thursday, and Billy, while I'm kind of doing this here, tell me what you thought happened. The big news of the day is the Laurentian, the vote that took place yesterday.
Yeah.
And so let me know what you heard about that so far, and I'll be right back.
Well, I heard it was by a margin, a very slim margin, and it's probably, my kind of take is it's probably good news for Sudbury. That would be a major engine going down in the city, I would imagine. And we have, let's see, this article from CBC saying Laurentian University starts new chapter with important vote, union says. So the plan of arrangement is one of the final steps for Laurentian to exit insolvency proceedings. And today is a new chapter, so that's probably... It's probably going to feel good to kind of close that up and, have a little bit of a positive look forward on the horizon with that.
Yeah, it is. So at least they don't have to liquidate. I think that was one of the things that they were worried about before, was liquidating the assets of Laurentian University if for some reason everybody voted no, or if not everybody, but if they didn't get the 2/3. So there was a twofold part to that whole vote, right? One was that, the one side was that they had to have the people that the main shareholders, they needed people who had 2/3 of the money to vote in favor of it. So the people holding the debt.
They can expect anywhere from 14 to 24 cents on the dollar, it looks like.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty good haircut.
That's funny.
But and the other side is we have Eduardo Galeano Riveros, if I said his name right, a former Laurentian physics professor who lost his job last April, said he was disappointed with the result of Wednesday's vote. It's not the outcome we had hoped for, he said. And he now works for McMaster and represents some 111 faculty members who lost their jobs in 2021. So I guess, that's kind of like the other side of these things is, if there's sometimes when there's a hard crunch, the lesson is learned a little bit harder, but hopefully there's lessons that were taken away and, this kind of thing isn't something that becomes followed up again shortly.
Yeah, exactly. So there are two sides to this, right? There's the ones that were fighting to have it go, to vote no, and they wanted to see basically what would happen afterwards, is just a kind of a reboot. But we're going to get a reboot with a yes vote instead, and see where that goes. Either way, it's a rebuilding, yes or no. I think there's questions on either side of that side of that, So, Oh, this is what's going on. Yeah. So this is plugged in. I can't really watch from this, this device. This is a crazy morning, everyone. I thought actually maybe we'd start, that was an indication we'd be live on CKLU, that there was some movement there, but no. It's because I want to see the comments on here.
It's good thinking.
Yeah.
Thwarted, though.
Yeah, it is. There it is. Okay, so...
Got instant replay now.
Close that. Yeah, instant replay. And the computer is slow as molasses on top of that this morning, which is crazy. So I guess we're just going to have to pay attention to the comments in the switcher that we're using. And unfortunately, I'm just going to put on a playlist on CKLU so people aren't listening to dead air. And then we'll get back to our show here live on Facebook and YouTube.com. But let me know how your last night went at your gig getting ready for the Sudbury Wolf season. Did everything go okay? And
yeah, it was actually just kind of a quick hookup. We've got some speakers coming in this weekend, I think, possibly tonight. And it's going to be, I think, a big improvement on the sound coming up shortly. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe I'll just kind of go over the headlines here. We got, so the other big news I heard people talking about yesterday was the red light cameras coming to the intersections.
Yes.
So 6 red light cameras across the city. And see, Regent Street, Paris Street, Municipal Road 80 at Dominion Drive, LaSalle Boulevard, a couple on Paris Street. So either one can memorize them or just, you can expect there's probably more of these coming. So it's probably best not to push red lights.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to talk more about where they are in the city, because that way, specifically you'll know if you're going to be caught on one of these things, if you're not exactly. I even heard they're going to take a shot of you at the white line and then coming through as well. And I think that means the radio is on now. Yeah, we're on radio.
Oh, good work.
Yeah.
Whatever you did.
I did something. There we go. Oh my goodness. And I was just going to play a playlist. So this is a lot better. So I really do apologize for the hiccup, ladies and gentlemen. We are in our home-based studio. It's a whole other setup here. And so other things can go wrong, but this is the thing. The good news is we figured it out and on the fly. So Billy, what would you say if we just started off with a little bit of weather and then got into our headlines and really unpacked a lot of the things we've just been kind of glossing over just this last couple minutes?
Take it away.
Take it away.
I'll drink my coffee.
It's funny. We'll be back right after this. Yeah, so back to a little bit of some normalcy here. It feels like, oh my goodness, the show is on right now. And I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for all you being on the show. I can't really see how many people are watching today because I don't have that monitor available, unfortunately, to kind of keep a finger on the pulse of how many of you are on. But at the same time, I can see comments. So that is a wonderful thing. And the monitor is close enough to me that I can actually read it. So things will work out today. Currently, it is 3 degrees in the city. We have some fog this morning, 99% humidity. And then looking into the forecast today, it will be sunny. And yesterday ended up to be a beautiful, beautiful evening. Mm-hmm. It was beautiful sun out there. And today will be much of the same. Fog patches will be dissipating this morning, high of 15. And as we felt it this morning, it was rather cool overnight. And, okay. All right. So it is what it is. And we're getting reports that there's no sound again on CKLU, but we'll hope that it'll just kind of fix itself somehow. Anyways. If you're listening, Tina, if you could just, that was 2 minutes ago. If you can get back to me again, if you're listening, and let me know if it's back on track. We'll get through the weather. We'll get into the stories. We'll fix the technical problems on the fly. And welcome to local radio. And that's the way that it goes. Tonight it'll be cloudy, 30% chance of showers this evening and after midnight. A few showers beginning after midnight. So the rain will be kicking in later this evening, and a few showers ending late in the morning tomorrow morning. Then cloudy with a 40% chance of showers for Friday, and basically a high of 14. So it's a little cooler these days. Oh, you're fine. You're fine now. But she says, for some reason, Billy, you're a little low.
Oh.
And I don't know why, but we'll see. Maybe everything is fine now, but she didn't hear when you were talking. But yeah, let's just, we'll get your volume all worked out here on the fly. Everybody's getting a peek into the behind the scenes going on here. We apologize for that, for those that, some people can be annoyed, and I could be too if I was listening to a broadcast and they were kind of troubleshooting on the fly. But thanks for bearing with us. As we said, tomorrow, 40% chance of showers, high of 14. Saturday, cloudy, 18. Sunday, September the 18th, chance of rain. That's all they're saying. It's 70% chance of rain. That's a high percentage, but the temperature is getting warmer. And there was a story out yesterday about the Environment Canada predicting that it's going to be a warm fall this fall. But then I thought I heard the Farmer's Almanac saying it's going to be a long, cold winter. So, okay, well, we're just going to see what happens when it happens. And then as we go through Monday, cloudy, and then we're going to get some sun coming out the beginning of next week, which will always happen. It's the forecast that everybody, it's a safe one, mix of sun and cloud, some chance of anything happening, 5 days from now. Little look at the satellite, clouds rolling in, as you can see, from the northwest. And that's the weather for today. We got through it. Hopefully we're still on the radio. And if so, thanks for joining us. And we'll be back right after this with a little bit of headlines and some chat and some of your comments after this. And so here we are. We're back. And let's see, Billy, your mic might be a little louder now.
Let's see.
Yes.
I'm just seeing if I show. Oh, yeah, I show up in those meters there. That's a good sign.
Oh, yes. The meter is definitely.
Thank God for meters.
Meters. Yes. It's all about the meters. And, the metric system. Different meter altogether. But
yeah, it works.
It works. Yeah. So
critical vote. Are we going over that again? We'll just quickly, I guess there's probably, it's a new show to some people, so.
Well, I think if we could just go through the stories here, I'll share it here in the box here. 1 second. We're going to go see, and there you go. So this is an interesting thing here. We got Sudbury.com talking about the chance to skate with the greats for Easter Seals. This is the celebrity hockey game that's going to be taking place here in the Nickel City. The Celebrity Hockey Classic. The Celebrity Hockey Classic is a chance to raise money for children with physical disabilities while sharing the ice with NHL stars like Wendell Clark, Rick Vive, and Al Iafrate, former Leafs, and Mike Krushelnyski. It's a good thing I know my hockey players, or those names would probably throw me for a loop if I was just reading them for the first time. But anyways, this is going to be great. This is going to be October 20th to 21st, 2022. That's this year. That's October. That's in a little more than a month from now. So make sure to get out there, and it's always a chance to see some of your former NHL greats, get their autographs, take your pictures with them if that's something that you like to do. Okay, yeah. So Tina says for some reason she just can't hear you at all when you're talking. So this is a very huge mystery on as far as we're concerned, because everything's going in to the same mix. It's going from here to there. So Tina, if you can just let us know if for some reason, Billy, if you still can't hear him.
The audio device on the iPad is still the USB?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. What would happen there? Okay, this wouldn't be good. Yep, it is. USB. Everything's, and like you can see, when you talk, it's the same volume as me on there.
Mm-hmm.
So, not sure why you wouldn't be heard on the radio. As opposed to, I know everybody, Miles, are you able to hear Billy when he's talking? No problem. If you can just chime in for us, because...
hey, Miles, thank you.
Yeah, you seem to be the only one who's commenting so far, and I can see why, because we haven't really got the show underway yet. And my apologies to all the candidates who are like, oh yeah, I should check this show out, because we put the emails out to all the candidates running for office, municipal election coming up, and they're like, oh, I'll check out this show. Yeah, Miles can hear you.
Oh.
So I think we just got to keep plowing ahead, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
Not sure why Billy's not working. That's 2 minutes ago from Tina. But I'm not sure. Maybe maybe we're behind on the feed because of the way all of the things have been going on technically this morning. But anyways, thanks, Miles, for letting us know. And thanks all y'all for bearing with us this morning for the way that the show kind of came out of the gate. And Miles' aunt is watching. Hey, how's it going, Miles' aunt? Yeah, this is interesting, right? Like I said, first impressions of the show as we're getting started, they're like, yeah, you got to see this show. It's pretty cool, blah, blah. And then it starts and it's all discombobulated. But it is what it is. And that's the way live goes. I remember hearing Howard Stern and David Letterman talking on David Letterman's new Netflix series that they were in. I think you're fine, Billy. I think we're good. But if you can, Tina, if you're still listening, I'm just curious, why Billy wouldn't be coming through on the radio when the same feed is coming through here and it's just going to the radio. So it makes no sense whatsoever. But yeah, so if for some strange reason he's still not coming through, let me know. But I remember David Letterman and Howard Stern talking about their time in community radio and all of the things that would go wrong for them. And you think, oh, these are well-polished, radio personalities, TV personalities. They got their act together. They've reached, godlike status in that industry. and they're talking about, the record player just goofing up and them not knowing what to say and being locked out of the office trying to get in for their show, and just all the things that happen in community radio. And it's I related to these guys because I've been through a lot of those things, including this morning. Like you think maybe in the future this will be stories to tell future generations of, oh, remember that show, remember these things happening, and it'd be like just looking back. Right now it's stressful, but in the future it might not be.
You handle it well.
Oh,
you just
thanks, Billy. Appreciate it.
Soldier on very calmly. I think that's a big step. That's a big part of the game.
It's all you can do, right? Yeah. So speaking of a big part of the game, we're talking about this Celebrity Hockey Classic, but I kind of really wasn't listening to your experience last night, getting the audio and everything ready for the Wolves season coming up, because I know Rob, the general manager of CKLU, and I were divvying up the responsibilities of the Wolves games for CKLU, making sure that they're on air and monitoring it and all that on the radio side. You're going to be in the arena dealing with the audio there. So how is it looking? Do they have any new equipment this year? Like what's the sense? Like what's some of the feelings that you got just from being there first time last night?
Yeah, I think there's a big initiative to step it up a notch. So there's more speakers coming in. There's a new mixer. So we were kind of discussing the layout of the audio and the patching and the routing and what additional stuff we'd need. So there's definitely a lot of focus and a big spotlight shine on it. So
nice.
I think it's going to be good.
So along with the new Jumbotron, hopefully I'll be there on Friday to kind of catch it. And hey, right on. It's good, Julia, that you are late to the party, because we had some discombobulation going on this morning anyways. So you didn't miss anything, that's for sure. You missed maybe a good laugh at us. But anyways, yes, we're talking about the arena and some of the new additions they have in terms of the sound, the experience you're going to have, the Jumbotron. This is all going to be enhancing the whole experience, right? Being there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they know they're going to be there for a little bit still, so it's going to be worthwhile to make that investment into it.
Yeah.
Whereas for a while, there's a lot of uncertainty what was going on, so.
Okay. Well, hopefully we come back on, because Miles is experiencing buffering on our end. I hope everything is still continuing crisp and clean with no caffeine. Anyways, so looking forward to that season a lot. And another story I wanted to talk about was Jagmeet Singh was in town, right, over the weekend. Remember, we talked a little bit about that. And one of the candidates that we already interviewed, many of them are coming up, and but she was on the show. And the last time we experienced a huge technical difficulty, she was on the show. The internet just cut out at the office, at my office, which is not here. So technical difficulties over there as well. Anyways, so she had to come back on the show. But she mentioned that she was with Jagmeet Singh when he was in town, did a TikTok video with him, and had a good old time. Well, anyways, okay, it's good now. Thank you very much, Julia. So I had a story told to me yesterday of they were at a record store, friend of mine, and they look over and they go, the one guy goes to his other friend and says, that guy looks exactly like Jagmeet Singh. And he goes, hey, you can't say that. That's racist. We think everyone in a turban looks like Jagmeet Singh, kind of thing. That's what, it's just, and they went, no, it's Jagmeet Singh. It's him. It's not. Anyways, they go, yeah, it is him. So they go up and he's looking at some albums. They're wondering, well, what albums would Jagmeet Singh be looking at? Can you take a guess?
No.
You'll never guess it. No one would ever guess it, but.
Pray tell.
Steely Dan.
Oh, well, that's cool.
Yeah. And I think he was with someone, it might have been his son or whatever, and said, yeah, I'm trying to, pass on some really great music here to the next generation, Steely Dan, you know. So I do know one thing about Jagmeet Singh. He's got good taste in music. Because Steely Dan, there's some darn good musicians that have played over the years in Steely Dan. So, but anyways, a little bit of a funny story. Jagmeet Singh in town.
That's good. It's almost a bit of a skit, you know.
Yeah.
Sounds like a 22-minute skit or something.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. That could easily. We should actually send them that and see if they're going to do it. And they could actually have Jagmeet Singh on 22 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, like I think politicians have done that over time. They actually have the real politicians on the show.
For sure.
Just making fun of themselves kind of thing.
It's a humbling experience, I'm sure, for them.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, this is the huge story of the day. We already kind of talked about it a little bit with, during the technical difficulty. So now let's give it another spin, if you will, keeping with the theme of records. And so Miles says he's a cool guy, Jagmeet, even though he may not agree with all of the policies. I'm in the same boat there. Politics is about policies. Usually parties have they're in between. There's a sliding scale of where they are with the policies, and I'm not always in that sliding scale of where they're at. But anyways, I think he's, from what I've heard anyways, a pretty down-to-earth guy. So switching gears here now to Laurentian University. Their huge vote yesterday, which is a pretty historic day here in Sudbury. Critical vote starts a new chapter for Laurentian University. This is from CBC. A vote in favor of Laurentian University's plan of arrangement begins a quote-unquote new chapter to Sudbury, Ontario University as it sets the stage to exit insolvency proceedings that have lasted 19 months. Long time. So all the good, bad, and the ugly of this, let's just kind of take a moment to see what this has to do with, what are we going to see going forward? And I think there's just a lot of question marks from everybody anyways. A vote in favor begins a new chapter. We talked about that. Today's the beginning of a new chapter, said Fabrice Collin, president of Laurentian University Faculty Association. As long as the painful CCAA process draws to a close, we can finally begin the work of restoring our university's integrity, as well as programs and jobs cut because of bad management and an irresponsible provincial government. Ouch. Ouch.
What do you figure
What a statement there.
The irresponsibility of the government was? I guess from that perspective, he's saying he was hoping for a little bit more of a bailing out at the end.
Yeah, I mean, after getting off the hook of $180 million for a person to come out and say, the blame game. Sure. So I was just about to, it was on the tip of my tongue, just about to say, wow, it was kind of good on them to kind of admit, we can finally begin the work of restoring our university's integrity and programs and jobs cuts because of bad management. And I was going to go, oh, good. They're talking about themselves running it poorly. And then they go, an irresponsible provincial government blaming somebody else. Oh, my goodness. Wow. Was that the beginning of Laurentian University? That's how we begin now? By blaming it's the provincial government? When Zach was on the show, and Zach kind of does deep thought. He reads like 7 books a week, and he just graduated from business in, from commerce in Laurentian University itself. Barely made it out with his degree because of all of the insolvency things that were going on. Anyways, and so we saw that at one point, at one fork in the road, Laurentian could have went to the government because the government has their setup for if a university is starting to feel pangs of going into too much debt and they're kind of at that position. They're supposed to go to the government at that point, and the government has a lot of checks and balances in place to help universities when they're at that point. Laurentian University decided not to go down that road, and actually on purpose went down the road of bankruptcy, bypassing that safety net in the government.
They started planning for it.
They basically said, yeah, you know what? We can see, instead of going to the government and, then they're going to tell us what to do, and all these jobs, union and everything, everyone's going to keep their jobs. They decided to go this way. They could just fire a bunch of people, and bypass the union in a lot of ways, and just go bankrupt. And now you don't know, what are they paying, an average of 20 cents on the dollar back to the creditors? So for them to come out and blame the provincial government after this, you read the Auditor General's report. It talks about the people involved in making the decisions for Laurentian University as being irresponsible. So I just think he's just name calling back to them. And they used other words that were worse than just irresponsible.
They did.
Oh, yeah.
But you're holding back.
Scathing. Yeah. I have to watch. And the views, the comments that are expressed on this show do not necessarily reflect those of CKLU or that of Laurentian University, as you could probably already see. And we're just basically trying to unpack what's going on, and we don't want to have any strings attached to finding out or getting to the bottom of what's actually happening, because that's the great thing of news talk in general.
That's the way news is supposed to be, yeah.
News is supposed to be. You don't not say something about somebody or something because, oh no, my job can be cut, or our program now is in jeopardy of whatever. That's the way that you get everybody to go along with something that's not necessarily good for the common good of everybody, And once that starts, it's a slippery slope. And so one bit of breath of fresh air that I kind of like is that we're not tied to having to meander to what's the word? Kiss butts, another word for that. Pander
Sure.
to certain people in certain positions. And so it's a safe space to be able to kind of speak freely is what it is. But I just think that's a terrible thing. And who was that said that again? Fabrice Collin, president of Laurentian University Faculty Association. So he says bad management, but then right away switches it right to irresponsible provincial government. So let's see here. That's funny. Yeah, Julie says, I burnt supper last night. It's still city council's fault. Wednesday morning, 522 of Laurentian's creditors voted in favor of the plan, representing 87.4% of eligible voters. So that was the one part of this whole vote. You needed, a larger percentage of the eligible voters to vote in favor of it first and foremost. And they did. They got 87.4% of everybody who's voting. But now, out of the people voting, one of the key groups of the people voting are the people actually that are owed money to. So they're part of this voting. And they had to represent two-thirds of the vote, majority, in order to pass this plan of arrangement. So the people that were actually owed the money to had to also have more than two-thirds in favor of this. And that was a squeaker. And guess what the percentage was of that, Billy?
Well, I'm going to say 68%. If 66 is two-thirds, according to my math.
66.6.
Wow. That's a big number.
Yeah. For the plan to be approved, Oh no, that's what they was needed. You're right. That's funny. So it's funny how 2/3 is actually 666, but 66.6. No, they got 68.9%.
Wow, what a good wild guess I did.
Sorry, I guess I stole the whole thunder of that amazing guess as you read the article. But yeah. Oh, you already read it. So 68.9%, that's a squeaker of the people that were actually owed the money. Now, out of that, I believe RBC was owed more than 70 million of the 180 million. So Collins said that while he was pleased with the outcome, Laurentian should never have had to rely on the Companies Creditors Arrangement Act, the CCAA, to put its final house in order. Well, he's kind of bitter at the whole way that government runs, I guess, or laws in general, it sounds like. In April 2021, 2 months after Laurentian filed for insolvency, it cut 69 programs and fired nearly 200 staff and faculty members who were in unions. So that's what going the route of bankruptcy allowed you to do, was to fire people who were in unions, which you wouldn't have been able to do if you went through the provincial government, in which you are calling irresponsible. So you wouldn't have had to fire them. They would have kept their jobs, and they would have found out a way to keep the university going. And they probably would have given money. Yeah, because that's the way the university in North Bay went, a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Many of those terminated staff and faculty members voted Wednesday morning. Now that the plan of arrangement has been approved, they can expect to get anywhere from 14 to 24% of the money they were owed. That's a really small amount, right? So Laurentian makes off like bandits here. If you owe $180 million and you only have to pay back 20% of that, that's $35 million? 37 million, something like that.
I don't have my calculator, but sure.
Because 100 million, that's 20 million, and it's 180 million altogether. So it's 200 million almost. So it would be 40 million if it was 200 million. So 37.5 million-ish.
Yeah, that's pretty clear thinking.
That's not bad. I'd love to go take out a loan for $180 million, and then at the end of the day find out I only have to pay back 37.5%. I mean 37.5 million. Be a great deal. And I wouldn't even blame anybody for that. Okay, so Eduardo Galeano Riveros, I got that out.
Yeah.
A former Laurentian physics professor who lost his job in April said he was disappointed with the result of Wednesday's vote. I think you talked a little bit about this earlier. It's not the outcome that we hoped for, he said. Galeano Riveros, who now works at Hamilton's McMaster University as part of a group that represents some of the 111 faculty members who lost their jobs in 2021. He said his court-approved claim for 18 years of service with Laurentian was valued at $561,000. So if you take 20% of that, what do you get? A little over 100,000 or 110, somewhere in that range. But ahead of the vote, Laurentian said it would cease to exist if the plan of arrangement had not been approved. So get your 20 cents on the dollar or get nothing, is what Laurentian was saying. So if you don't vote yes, you're getting zero. And then Laurentian would just have to liquidate everything, and who knows, we'd have a big garage sale. And you can go and buy chairs.
Yeah. What do you figure the math would have been? The creditors would have got the proceeds, I'm guessing, of the liquidation. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So I wonder if his payout might have been bigger.
If they would have just liquidated everything. Yeah. So Miles makes a good point here. It says, so who's paying for this debt relief of bankruptcy that Laurentian is experiencing? Who ultimately is going to pay for that?
Well, I mean, the creditors are paying for it for a big chunk, but
yep.
Much like the rest of that funding, there's a taxpayer portion, I'm sure.
Well, Galeano Riveros and other terminated faculty members argued there was precedent that showed the plan could have been renegotiated if the vote failed. So kind of go back to the drawing board and maybe 40%, 40 cents on the dollar or something like that kind of thing. So Jeff Bangs, the chair of Laurentian's Board of Governors, said he was relieved by the vote's results, obviously. But it showed there remains a lot of work to do. I think we have some work to do on mending fences, rebuilding relationships, and earning people's trust in the future. Well said. Yeah. I think we have some work to do. Mending fences, rebuilding relationships, and earning people's trust in the future. That's, and blaming the government. No, he didn't say that. But he could have. He could have said, we need to blame the government more. But at least that one was a statement, a truthful statement that I think people can at least say that, they're speaking from what actually happened. Because mending fences, fences were broken through this whole thing. Rebuilding relationships, relationships were severed. And earning people's trust, people lost trust. Already was weak to begin with, I think, for a lot of people, but was definitely kiboshed when all of this happened. Because people have an aversion anyways for governments and institutions these days. And so when something like this happens, it just kind of affirms or reaffirms their kind of distrust to begin with institutions and some of the bloatedness and some of the extra administrative costs and the boss of the assistant boss to the assistant, and then you have the worker at the bottom doing the actual work, and then the salaries are like all sunshine list, and then you need a French and you need an English, so you need a French boss, an English assistant, a French assistant, an English assistant to an assistant's assistant, a French assistant to assistant's assistant, and then you get the French person doing the work and the English person doing the work. So very bloated, very mismanaged, and we saw the results from it, and it happened. And so who is going to be held responsible is what I see from the comments coming in all the time. Any comment I've read on any of the social media that of the outlets that allow people to comment, that was the sentiment from people. Who is going to be held responsible for what happened? Who is actually responsible? We saw Laurentian, someone from Laurentian, the president of the faculty, basically said it was the government's fault. So okay, he's trying to hold the government responsible for what happened. Is that the case? Is that who was responsible? So if the government was responsible, all of the universities in Ontario should be facing the same problems then, no?
Could be like a system thing as much as an individual thing. Sure, there might be people responsible, but again, it might be a good opportunity to look at the system, because like you said, there's this maybe this bloatedness, and that was one of the reoccurring things that I heard too, is that there is where it's hard to make changes because for a long time two sides wouldn't come together, the management and the union, and if there's no if there's a stalemate, things will just hold rigid until the whole thing collapses, kind of thing. So kind of like a look at the system. You remember that movie, An Inside Job? It was the Academy Award-winning documentary just after it's all about the financial crash of 2008. And that was one of the very poignant points at the end where they said, well, we couldn't really, nobody really got arrested because they were all kind of too above the law. Like they're too powerful to arrest. So, they just kind of shrugged their shoulders and said, well, let's, try not to let this happen again. But of course, all the same practices, like these people who didn't suffer any consequences, kind of seem like they jump back into their old patterns and habits to some degree. So that is That is one of the importance of consequences.
Yeah, true. So consequences, that's exactly what I'm kind of hearing from the community members here in Greater Sudbury is where's the accountability? Who is going to take the rap for this? Because there's a bunch of players, right? So you saw one person from Laurentian blaming the government. So there you go. Okay, he's saying government's fault here. Irresponsible government. The province actually appointed Bangs to Laurentian's board in December 2021 in an effort to clean house. Since that time, every board member who was present when the university got into financial difficulties either resigned or was let go. So, is that accountability? If you resign or you're let go from the board, you're let go from the board. I thought boards of directors were actually fiscally responsible as part of their tenure on a board. That's what I thought. That's what I thought was a little bit of liability if you're on a board, that you're actually responsible for what happens with that organization. And so you don't just say, yeah, I'll serve on a board, no problem. Because if that entity that you're representing on the board tanks or whatever, you are personally responsible as part of the board being board members. That's what I thought was legal. But here they're resigned or let go. So I guess in this case it didn't happen, or it's not going to happen. Robert Hache, Laurentian's president, and Marie-Josée Berger, the university's provost, are set to retire from their roles once Laurentian exits its insolvency proceedings. That's expected to happen after October 5th, when Laurentian is scheduled to get court approval for its plan of arrangement. The least they could have done was hire somebody who got fired as the president. You know what I mean? Just like Jim Carrey in that movie with Dick and Jane, I think it is.
Oh, okay.
And they
gets promoted to CEO one day.
Yeah, they just hire him as the spokesperson, and this goes right to the top of the bill. He's, wow, this is my big time, and while he's on live TV, they're showing their stocks below going down. They're questioning, why is your company...
the SWAT team busts in.
Exactly. At least they could have done was hire Jim Carrey for that and fired him. Like say, man, and then everyone go, well, at least he was fired. But no, just retires. Who's responsible for this? Who is responsible? We already have the preliminary report from the Auditor General that's come out, and now you've seen a lot of political rumblings behind the scenes, some fight back. Oh, it's because it's a certain party that's in power, that they're coming down on us or whatever. But it doesn't matter what party's in power. There's legal precedents. There's legal avenues to go through when you're facing these types of things. It has nothing to do with the party. So anyways, who's going to be responsible? In April, the Auditor General, as we talked about, Bonnie Lysyk, published her preliminary perspective on Laurentian University. If you go to CBC, or you go to our Facebook page and you click on the story that we shared from CBC, they actually have the report. You can read it right there, which said poor management of its financial affairs were big factors in Laurentian's insolvency. So now, where did West come from here? Sudbury MPP Jamie West himself, a graduate of Laurentian University, said he hopes Laurentian will be able to rebuild its reputation as it begins its next chapter. West said he would like the final report to provide answers on exactly what went wrong. Yes. Quote, the reality is people in Sudbury want to know what happened to this university that we sort of felt was stable. He said, oh, that's a great quote. Mm-hmm. Did you hear the subtlety in that? The reality is people in Sudbury want to know what happened to this university that we sort of felt was stable.
Yeah.
We didn't totally feel. We sort of felt it was stable.
Sure.
You know?
Sure. Well, I could see a quote coming out like that because that's That's the way I talk.
Yeah.
Sort of felt it was stable
Yeah.
too.
Didn't we kind of think that, that was kind of impossible for a university to go bankrupt kind of thing? Like a staple university of Laurentians, kind of the biggest one in Northern Ontario, blah, 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 all these programs, French, English, Indigenous. You would have thought, wow, like this thing can't go wrong. But somehow,
I don't know. I guess
somehow.
Yeah, maybe that indicates there was internal rumblings for a while, and I do remember hearing some of those rumblings too, where a lot of shoulder shrugging and like seeing that, my God, they sure have a lot of programs with very few students in it. How do they do it?
That's true. Like I thought the same thing too. But I just thought they get exorbitant amounts of money and, it's like a fire hose of money because for a lot of these programs, they seem to get money. I would just think Francophone initiatives in general, like I know Boreal, the student enrollment is way lower than if, they didn't have a lot of funding. They wouldn't be able to survive if it was like a totally you have to survive on your enrollment kind of thing. They wouldn't be able to continue. So I thought the same thing for Laurentian University, that they probably had so much funding that they can just misspend until the cows come home and there's just no end to it. But I guess we've figured out there was an end to the mismanagement. So there you go. A lot of comments. Thanks for commenting, everyone. I can't see the Facebook page comments, but I can see here on the switcher that we use. And now we're going to kind of change gears a little bit. And I'm not able to see time. So it looks like our time is up. We spent all the time trying to fix our technical difficulties. And then a lot of our time was basically talking about the huge vote that happened yesterday. So it's unprecedented here in Sudbury. So I guess that's it for now. Thanks for bearing with us, everyone. Those of you that did. And I apologize for the rough beginning to the show. Tomorrow we'll be coming to you from the other office tomorrow on Friday. And we may have a candidate to interview as well. I'm going to get on that today and line someone up. So thanks, Billy.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, we did it. We made it to the end.
Made it.
So stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU and a bunch of other great programming after that. Have a great one, everyone. Thanks. Make sure to like, share the video. Maybe not this video, but maybe just the page today. Don't share this video too much because I wouldn't want that getting out to too many people. Thanks, Miles. Appreciated. Have an awesome day, Julia. And rock and roll. We'll see you guys same time, same place tomorrow. Ciao.